Petrograd, December 1916. From the frozen river, they pull the body of a man the largest empire on earth feared more than its enemy at war. An uneducated Siberian peasant who got closer to the throne than any minister, a healer, a prophet, a sinner. Grigori Rasputin. He could supposedly stop the heir's bleeding. He foretold the fall of the dynasty, and when they came to kill him, he would not die. He was born in the remote Siberian village of Pokrovskoye, endlessly far from palaces and power. In his youth, he became a wanderer, thousands of miles on foot, monastery to monastery. He returned to starets, a holy man whose hands, they said, carried the voice of God. In 1903, he comes to the capital. The aristocratic salons, hungry for mysticism and spiritualism, receive him as a miracle. They call him the mad monk, but Rasputin was never a monk. He was something far more dangerous, the man the empress believed. The Tsarevich Alexei, the only heir to the throne, had hemophilia, the smallest injury, and the bleeding would not stop. It was the most closely guarded secret in the empire. The heir to the throne could die at any moment, and no one must know. And then Rasputin comes. He sits by the boy's bed, speaks, prays, and the bleeding stops. The doctors cannot explain it. How did he do it? Hypnosis, calm, by forbidding the aspirin that was secretly making the bleeding worse. No one knows for certain. For the empress, it was proof. This man was sent by God. From that moment, the Empress Alexandra would do anything for him, and through her, so would the Tsar himself. The World War breaks out. The Tsar leaves to command the army at the front, and in the capital his wife is left to rule, a Siberian peasant at her side. Ministers fall and rise by his favor, or so all of Russia believes. Rumors spread of orgies, of drunkenness, that he sleeps with the empress. Most is the propaganda of his enemies, but Rasputin gives them more than enough excuse. In a country where millions of men are dying in the trenches, the fate of the throne rests in the hands of an illiterate peasant. For the old nobility, that is too much. The plot is led by Prince Felix Yusupov, the richest man in Russia. With him, a Grand Duke and a Duma deputy. They mean to save the empire by silencing Rasputin. On the night of the 17th of December, they invite him to the Yusupov Palace, to a cellar where wine and sweet cakes are waiting. In them, supposedly, enough cyanide to kill several men. Rasputin eats them, drinks the wine, and nothing happens. A terrified Yusupov draws a pistol and fires. Rasputin collapses. Upstairs, the conspirators celebrate that it is over. And then, by Yusupov's own account, the dead man wakes. His eyes open. He seizes the prince by the throat and bursts out into the snow. They shoot again. They bind him and throw him from a bridge into the frozen Neva. When the body is found days later, the story goes that his lungs were full of water, that beneath the ice he was still struggling to break free, that in the end it was the river that killed him. But the autopsy tells a different story. No cyanide was confirmed, no water in the lungs. Rasputin was killed by a single bullet to the head. History's most dramatic murder is largely a legend the killers told about themselves. Shortly before his death, Rasputin supposedly dictated a letter, a prophecy addressed to the Tsar himself. If common men kill him, he writes, the Tsar has nothing to fear. But if he is murdered by nobles, by the Tsar's own kin, then within 2 years the whole dynasty will fall and Russia will drown in blood. He was killed by nobles, by the Tsar's own kin, and within less than 2 years, the Tsar, the Tsarina, and their 5 children were dead, shot in the cellar of a house in Yekaterinburg. Whether Rasputin truly wrote that prophecy, no one can prove. Perhaps someone finished it after his death, but the coincidence still chills to this day. Was Rasputin a fraud or a true healer? The devil who destroyed the empire or the last man holding it together? The truth is uncomfortable. He was most likely both. A man who could stop the blood of one child, yet could not stop the bloodshed that came after him. They burned his body so that nothing would remain. But a legend cannot be burned, the mad monk who was no monk, the prophet who, they say, would not die. The Rasputin file stays open. If you want us to open another, subscribe, and tell us in the comments whose fate we should uncover next.